To give my coding a new direction.
Life-changing experience after that.
I got from Pesto, right? That is product mindset, right?
It was a really great experience for me. I realized that it bring out the best in me.
Awesome team, awesome work.
Best coding practices in the world. Been able to express myself better.
We have mentors from like top multinational companies all over the world.
My experience has been
Hello, everyone. Hi, this is Avi. I'm the community head at Pesto, and today we have a really special guest in the house. Hey, Dany, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to talk about full stack development. I love to talk about that nerd stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we can see like people still rolling in, and while I guess there's more people who are going to join in a while. We can kick off today's discussion with a intro about yourself. Like I read on the website that you started programming 10 years ago, so maybe that's like a good place to start, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to make it not too long. So so I'm Dany. I'm 28 years young, and yeah, my journey started like 10 years ago. And yeah, I did my apprenticeship here in Germany, like 3 years of computer science, and yeah, since then I fell in love with coding, with tech in general, and I had quite a journey. I tried many things out, from system to desktop applications, now to web development, Web3, like mobile. I tried everything. I will try everything out. And yeah, I'm currently working as a full stack developer in my full-time job for now 3 years. And yeah, I love it. And yeah, that's me in short.
Awesome. I've also dropped Dany's website on the chat. Please do have a look. It's a really beautiful website.
Thanks.
So let's also talk about like what you're doing right now. I think it's interesting to know what you're up to right these days. I see that you're working, contributing to the Learn Web3 DAO, but that's not the full-time thing, right?
Yeah, like I said, so my full-time job is mostly Angular and TypeScript. Like sometimes, like very sometimes, I do a bit Terraform, so a bit backend stuff. But mostly it's TypeScript and Angular. And in my free time, I do everything. Like I said, I'm interested in many fields in tech. The last 6 months or 7 months, I'm like getting into Web3 and learning it at Learn Web3 DAO. And that was also the time where I started to start Twitter, to share my learnings, my wisdom with others, helping others to jump into tech and Web3 and development in general. And yeah, that's it. Like, for example, right now I just started learning Rust, just because I want to learn a low level language again. So yeah, I love learning, and I think tech is the best place to learn every day.
Yeah. I'm learning Svelte, by the way. That's the new JS framework,
Yes.
which is catching everyone's attention. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
build
I never
something
tried it
with the
yet.
Discord API. Yep,
Mm.
yep. You should.
Yeah, I also want to
So
try
that,
a Vue, but
yeah, awesome. So today's conversation, I think we are going to talk about the future of full stack development. And one of the things that before getting on today's call, I was discussing with Dany that, hey, how do we structure this conversation? And one of the ways that we can do justice to this topic, because there's so many things to talk around. I think what we decided to do is talk about three areas. One is UI UX, the second one is front end, and the third one is back end. So let's begin with UI UX as a skill, design as a skill. How do you feel that if let's say one says that, hey, I'm a full stack developer, how important is that skill uh, for somebody in the current in today's day and age?
yeah. So I think it's getting more and more important, like especially if you look at the evolving of Web3, where I think personally UI UX is the most important part to onboard users to it. But in general, also in Web2, I think it's very important to have a structured website that looks beautiful. Just because nowadays many people can do coding and do websites, and if you want to build websites and maybe do freelancing stuff, then you have to build beautiful sites to compete with the competition. So I think UI UX, you don't have to be a pro, right? I mean, this is a whole job, a whole domain. So you don't have like to be the best, but learn the concepts, the fundamentals, learn to use tools like Figma, for example, to build mockups. And that's for the beginning more than enough. And yeah, you will learn like how to think as a user, how they approach like going on a website, like, and yeah, I mean, what I really like, or what I really use for like learning these things is a YouTuber. His name is Design Course. I will drop the link here. Maybe someone can share it in the chat.
Yep.
A really great YouTuber. He also has an UI UX course that is paid, but it's really great. You learn all the fundamentals. You got or you get interactive challenges that you can do. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. So to reflect, like what you said, I think the crux is that, hey, you can essentially be a great developer knowing front end, back end, but design could maybe create a sort of a difference, especially as we can see, right? Like more and more apps are focusing a lot on design these days, right? That's where Airbnb created a lot of value. There's other businesses like products, any product which is easy to use. I think people generally seem kind of they decide that, hey, this is the winner in that market. So for programmers as well, I feel if you can just have a good taste, I think maybe that's a good thing to have, right? That's a added skill to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
It's this nuance. Like everyone, like many people can do this front end, this back end. But if you have a little bit of UI UX design, it's a thing that gets you hired maybe, because many other people have the skills you have, but this skill like gets you a better chance, for example. And the thing is, not even like the big companies have or have all the time a good UI UX design. I mean, look at Amazon Prime, for example, Prime Video. If you compare to Netflix, it's horrible. Like it's really horrible.
yeah.
Like Netflix is so intuitive, it's so easy to use. I don't know what they do at Amazon, but yeah, it's not the best.
Cool. So yeah, I think we have some questions coming in. So just to let the audience know, we'll definitely take up questions at the end. I can see that Amit and Prakash have shared a couple of questions about Java and things around it. So just hold on a bit. Like we want to make sure that this conversation adds value to all of you. And later at the end, we'll get to the specific questions, which are things like these. So moving on, I think the next bit which I wanted to touch a bit is about front end, which is obviously the thing right now. Like it's if you want a great job, you need to be good at either React or some other front end framework. So that's great. Like I clearly understand the value which is there in learning a front end, like front end framework and then language. My worry is that are people too focused on frameworks and then not learning, let's say, the basics. What let's say if I can like clearly build an app using Next.js, right? Like I can follow the tutorial, I can build something quickly. So what are your thoughts on that? Like how important is basics, especially for having a career which is like it's like a long-term career, right? It's not like
Yeah, so this is my favorite topic because I hear this all the time, and people ask this thing like, do I need the fundamentals when I can start with frameworks? Like they don't want to do the fundamentals; they just want to jump into React and stuff as fast as possible. And I think it's not a good choice, especially if your goal is to have a career in tech. Like if you have a idea for a product and want to build it quickly, yeah, sure, use the tools that get it done as quickly as possible. But if you want to understand it and build a career in tech, then the fundamentals are the most important part, because once you learn it, you can apply it to everything. So I really liked to approach it from the bottom up. Like you first learn the computer science basics, and you don't need a CS degree for that. Like don't have to go to university to code or to learn it. Like for example, my favorite resource for that is free on YouTube. It's from the Harvard University. It's a full course on computer science basics. The teacher is amazing. Here I will drop the link that we can share after. Yeah, it's a whole playlist, and you learn everything, like how the computer works in a very he explained it so well. It's amazing. And if you know that, then you can start to choose a program language, and that's really comes up to what you want to do. Okay, you want to do front end, then JavaScript is a obvious choice, right? I mean, sure, you can start with JavaScript. I don't see the problem here. If you have the time, and if you really want to learn the basics and how the computer works, I would suggest first learn a low-level language, like a language that is closer to the computer, to understand how it works, and this will help you in the long run. So if like C, C++, Rust, I think Rust is a wonderful choice for that. And then you can learn JavaScript. But if you learn JavaScript, as always, start with the basics. Don't just rush into React and do some vanilla JavaScript. Learn the fundamentals, what is closuring, and all the stuff that is important. Because you will have a hard time if you jump directly in a framework. Like if you don't know JavaScript and jump into React or Angular or Svelte or Vue, you will have a hard time, and you will understand almost nothing. And the easiest tasks will take you hours. So take your time. This can be 1 month, this can be half a year or a year. This depends on how much time you want to invest. And yeah, just start. But learning the fundamentals from computer science until your first programming language, learn the fundamentals before you start any framework. This doesn't apply only for JavaScript, but for all languages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a balance that you have to keep, right? Like you want to find some motivation by building, let's say, a cool little app, and that could be as simple as, let's say, building your portfolio website. But
Yeah.
you could build a portfolio website in two ways. You could build it either using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or you could build it using Next.js. And maybe like what Dany is hinting here is that if you're beginning, a better thing to do is obviously start from the basics. And obviously like once you king for a company, I think speed of execution matters. But here, when you're learning, I think that's when you should give yourself some time. I think there was like a really nice uh, thing that I read, which is slow is good, or slow is better, something of that sort. Like if you are learning a new skill, it's actually better if you kind of Danny, anything that you'd like to add there on that particular topic?
Yeah, so absolutely, I agree. Like, take it slow, take your time. Like, someone will learn it in 1 month, someone in 2 years. It doesn't matter. But yeah, don't rush anything. I know it's very tempting to start using a fancy framework. Everyone is talking about. It's so cool, and yeah, it's very cool. But if you don't know the basics, it will not help you. Like, frameworks are here to help you to make the job easier, but they only make it easier if you know the fundamentals and how they work. And
Right.
this is the best advice I could give someone that want to start coding.
And maybe, if I have, like I'm a little biased here, I want to, share that we are doing a 30-day JavaScript challenge at the Discord server starting next Monday. So that I think that's maybe, like if you're looking for some structure, we're following an open source curriculum, and essentially we have some mentors on board as well. And we'll do live streams like these. So it will be it will be good if you are just beginning your career. I think that's what we are hoping for.
Yeah,
So we'll share that. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Sorry,
I
Dany, you were
mean,
saying.
no, that's amazing, because this is also like an advice I could give like everyone. I would love to hear when I started coding. Find someone or some people that are sharing your passion and learn with them. Join a community, learn with people. Don't learn alone, because it's much more fun. You are much more motivated, and this is amazing.
Yep. And I think I was trying to highlight Dhruv's comment. Yeah, fundamentals are not the only thing; they're everything. Well said, Dhruv. Thanks for
Yeah,
some putting it in
true.
2 lines. Awesome. Cool. So moving along, I think we spoke a little bit about front end. I think we can talk as much, like front end is obviously, like we can keep talking about it and it will never end. But let's keep chugging along here, and the next topic which I want to touch upon is backend. Backend has changed a lot in my short little career. Like I remember I was writing code in Ruby on Rails, which was an MVC framework. But nowadays, you have these awesome services like Supabase, then there is, Hasura and Prisma. So
Mm.
I am curious, like is backend, you know, uh, like is it even part of the conversation when we talk about full stack development?
Yeah. So yeah, it's true. Backends change a lot. Personally, I think frontend change more, or front-end developers need to know much more things nowadays. But yeah, backend is a thing. So I would say I do more front-end than backend. But when I do backend, you have so many new things, like for example cloud. You can have your whole backend on AWS, for example. It's on one hand, it made so much things easier, because it's so easy to upload files to a machine, to have a web server. But for example, at my work, we also use AWS at the backend, and it's easy at the beginning. But oh boy, when you get into it and have a big infrastructure, this is hella complicated. Like, holy moly, this is really something. I think backend goes into a direction where DevOps is really important, and infrastructure as code. So when we talk about backend, we have like two things. We have DevOps, which is the whole thing about infrastructure, automation, which every company nowadays wants. And we have the code for the API and stuff. So I would say like backend splits into two topics, like DevOps, logic, like API stuff, and writing the code. Yeah.
And what do you think, will happen with Web3 coming into the mix? Like Web3 is saying that, hey, here now you have, databases which are programmable, like, anyone can essentially access this. And obviously, like that's a whole different skill set altogether, like writing smart contracts, all of those things. But if we had to make it simple, let's say, like if we had to make some trade-offs here, what do you think is a path which you would, let's say, like 5 years ago, Dany, you were beginning your tech career, let's say, like what would you suggest? Do you start with front end, or do you still want to have a knowledge of a bit of both?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like mostly front end. I would start with front end. The thing with Web3 is this. Web3 is a whole new backend, right? The front end stays the same. Like you have a front end, you have HTML, CSS, and stuff. It's the same, and that's great, because like you can adopt the skills you learned for Web3 later. The backend is a whole new world. The problem now is, I see in Web3 with the backend, the scalability.
Right.
I think it's very, right now at this point, it's very hard, for example, to make a Netflix service in Web3 for millions of users. And yeah, we have to tackle this somehow. But I think every Web3 company or a bigger app still needs a database, like a normal SQL, MySQL, or Postgre database. I think it's not possible without it right now. So you can use many things in Web3 that are decentralized, but you are still rely on I would say the old ones, like database and stuff, if you want to scale at a high level. So
Yeah, I think the reason that I brought up that trade-off was because of abstractions, right? Like abstractions can make your life so much easier, especially if you're a beginner. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Like how much do you like, is it cool if you, let's say, abstract the Web3 backend with a single API, which essentially, like, that, hey, if I give it this output, give it, this input, I'll get back this output. So for somebody who is working with like the idea of becoming a full stack developer, is that knowledge good enough, or do you think that somewhere down that line that will bite you in the behind?
Can you rephrase it? I didn't really understand it right.
Okay. I'll try rephrasing it. So my question here was that what do we do when it comes to abstractions? Like APIs are basically abstractions which make our life easier as a full stack developer, right?
Mhm.
So does somebody really need to dig deeper into what's the underlying logic behind those APIs, or is it cool, just to know the documentation, like being able to read the documentation well enough that you can use the APIs? Does that make
I
sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I think it's important to know what's going on under the hood. Like this is the same as I said before, like the fundamentals. But it depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to use a service for a specific purpose, and you just don't care about how it achieves what it does, then no, you don't have like to dig deeper, go into the source code and know what's going on. So it really depends on your use case. But yeah, it depends. But when I use something like an API for abstraction, I use this API because it has abstraction. I don't have like to wrap my mind around that. So it makes my life easier. Why should I make my life harder again to understand how it achieves that? So it depends. Yeah.
Yeah. So for like, I just want to double click on this and maybe just go with this idea here. What do we do
Yeah.
when it comes to authentications? Authentication is like, you can use magic link. You can, you have Auth0, which gives you these really amazing services which
Yeah.
essentially mean. So any thoughts on how important it is to know the behind the scenes which is happening? It's a
So
tricky question.
authentication, yeah. So Auth0 is amazing. I think many companies and product use that. For a user, it's not important to know what's happening. For a developer, it's very important. And the thing is, I think it should be more important for the user because it's about your data. So this is why, for example, I love Web3 because right now, if you authenticate somewhere, you will like get your data, like they get your data, and as a user, like as a normal user, not a developer, you don't care what you give them. You just want to access the service. So here are my data. Take them. Do whatever you want. And I think we have to go away from this mindset from the normal user to a point like in Web3, or just call it decentralized, where you don't have to sell your data. And yeah, so authentication is very tricky, but if you now ask me like to if it's important to know what happens under the hood, yeah, but it's hella complicated. And if we use Auth0 at our company or someone else, I think nobody goes into the source code and looks what's going on. This is really complicated stuff.
Yeah. It's like almost like peeling an onion, right? You can keep finding layers underneath.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, there's obviously there's no one right way of learning programming, but yeah, it kind of, like curiosity is a thing, right? Like if you generally see people who are good developers, I would presume that they have this common trait, which is curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Danny,
yeah,
would you agree?
100%. I think it's the most important trait of a developer, to be curious. And one more thing, if you want to be in this career, to be a developer, you have to be in peace with the fact that you can't learn everything. And this was for me very hard, because I tried to learn everything and it's impossible. And you have to be in peace with that. There are so many tech, so many frameworks, so many programming languages, so many stuff you can do. It's impossible for you to learn everything. But it's a wonderful place if you love learning new things every day, and if you love to try things out. Because as a developer, your main job is to stay up to date and to be curious about the newest tech, and yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, we are halfway, and I think the folks are really enjoying this conversation. I'm just curious if anybody in the chat has more questions around this topic. This is like obviously we're just scraping the surface here, but would love to hear any questions on these. And yeah, so the last I think thing which I had on mind is, what do you think is going, like which skills are going to be the future of this industry? Like what is the evolution and future, or maybe what are the technologies that are in demand right now? Any particular, let's say, like for the lack of a better word, any hot technologies in the market right now?
Yeah, so it depends on your location, which is in demand, so which technology. If you ask me for general advice, I would obviously say React. I think you will find the most jobs everywhere in the world in React or Next.js. So JavaScript and React is always a safe choice, I would say. And in addition, it's already like a big thing in Web3. So React is always a good thing to learn. What I suggest, this is my personal opinion, I love TypeScript. So if you learn JavaScript, learn TypeScript as soon as possible. I just love static type languages. But so I think Web3 will be very big. I mean, it's very hyped right now, but I think in the next years it will evolve, and it will be a big thing. So this is for me like a very hot technology. But I think you can in every field you can learn valuable skills. Like in the backend, you have C#, Rust, Go, also TypeScript. For mobile development, so if someone wants to try mobile, I love Flutter. Also, you can do cross-platform. So if you learn Flutter, you can like develop websites, desktop, for Ubuntu, Mac, Windows, everything. In the DevOps space, obviously Terraform is very in demand, or Docker, or Kubernetes. For me, Kubernetes is dark magic, but it's if you know it, then you are valuable to hire. Yeah, and I think so. The whole cloud thing, so AWS, as Azure, also good to know. I mean, I hope it will one day will be replaced through Web3 stuff, but right now it's an important skill, I would say. And AI, so AI, machine learning, I think will be a big thing in the future. Personally, I don't have very much experience with that, so I tried machine learning a bit, but I only scratched the surface. But yeah, so I think so machine learning, AI is will be very big. So if I have to name two, then I would say Web3 and AI will be very big in the next 10 years.
Let's frame that and tweet it out. Yeah. Dany trying to make the claim. We'll catch up in 10 years. But yeah, on a serious note, I think both of them are great places to start learning. Obviously, the safer choice is as you said rightly, that JavaScript, React, Next.js. That's essentially the trilogy of being like a high-paying developer, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but if you are very curious, and if you feel, hey, I should really figure out why Web3 is getting so much of hype, and obviously some stick as well. If you're curious, you should definitely check it out. And the same thing is with machine learning and AI, right? So I think both of them are still in a very nascent stage, I would say. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So I think we have like 10 to 20 minutes for questions, and maybe before we get to questions, Dany, I think I just want you to take this chance to maybe summarize this bit. Like, hey, we are talking about future of full stack development, but maybe you had some thoughts. Maybe we did not ask you the right questions. Any closing thoughts here before we start off with the questions, right? What's your take on this topic?
Yeah, so to summarize it, first of all, learn the basics from computer science when you start to code. Learn the basics of your programming languages that you want to learn, and then jump into frameworks. When it comes to the future of web development or full stack development, I think front end changes a lot in the past and will still change in the future, because nowadays front end is much more than just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. When I look at job descriptions for a front end developer, they need to know a shit ton of stuff. I would say too much, but it heads into a direction where front end developers are similar to full stack. So, and I think that full stack will be very, very in demand in the next years, because many companies want the full package. And the thing with full stack is full stack doesn't mean you have to know everything. It doesn't mean you are a front end pro, you are a back end pro, you are a prodigy, you know everything. Full stack only means you know one really well and understand the other. You know how it works on the other side. You could potentially do something on that side, but it doesn't mean you are a front end, back end, both a pro. No? This is very important to mention. And yeah, I think the demand will grow for full stack development. And yeah, everyone that wants to start this path, I wish the best of luck. It's a wonderful path. I love it, and the community is amazing, and I wish you the all the best for that.
Yeah, I think just to wrap up, I saw Amit's question here, which was any recommendations on learning basics of CS. I think the people know that there's a lot of material out there on the internet, but is there something which you have to share in today's chat? Did you?
For what? For computer science basics?
Yeah, computer science basics.
I think I shared the link. Is the link was the link posted in the chat? I don't know.
I guess you could just share it again. We'll kind of
Okay.
drop it again in the comments. Yep.
One moment. So a person in
CS50,
the
yeah, Dhruv. I think CS50 is like a good resource as well.
yeah.
Cool.
So
So we'll get to the. Sorry, Danny. Go on.
no, I just want to say CS50 is amazing. This is everything.
Yeah. Cool. So awesome. So I'm looking at the questions here which I have star marked, and then maybe the spiciest one. I'll begin with the spiciest one. Danny, do you like
Okay.
spicy food?
Yeah. Oh no. I don't because I don't I can't.
No,
No.
no, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But here, I think Bakesh has I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. But his question is will AI have a role to play in the future of full stack development? Will they be kind of uh, taking all of these jobs?
This is a wonderful question. I think this is many people are interested in that because they think they like AI and computers will replace every developer, and I would say this is definitely not true. Uh, I think AI will help us developers. I mean, if you know, for example, GitHub Copilot, that
Right.
like suggest you code and help you. I like it. It's a great tool, and I think it will be a paid service in 1 or 2 months, and I will pay for it because I don't want to live without that. So AI is something that will help us developers, um, and will not replace us. So in no way. What I would say is that AI and machines will replace other jobs, like in other areas, not in computer science. But I think our jobs are safe.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. So moving along, this one is an interesting question by Amit. From a perspective of choosing a career, which one would you choose? Let's say Java has been like the bread and butter for a lot of companies here in India,
Mhm.
right? So Java as a stack has been very critical. Like if you know Java, you have a chance at a good life. But now I think React and Node are coming up, and people do realize. But then for somebody like Amit, he's still a little bit confused. Any thoughts on that?
Um, as I said, it really depends on your location. Like if Java is really big in your location, then there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
learning it. In general, I would say that React is more popular in the general world. And if you want to have a career as a full stack developer, then I would say that React is the better choice. Um, and yeah, so React.
I think it's as Danny rightly said, right? It's going to be like if you've already invested, let's say, like I'm making an assumption here. Please forgive me. But if you have already invested 5 years of your life in learning Java, maybe just maybe it makes sense for you to compound those benefits by just keeping just by sticking to it, because all of the cool young kids are going to learn JavaScript. They're not going to learn Java, right? So maybe that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can do that, but also it's never too late to learn a new thing. So even if
Mhm.
you are like did Java for 5 years, you can do other things and apply the things that you learn in Java, because Java is also a great language if you are starting development to learn the fundamentals. And if you not coded for 5 years in Javas, you don't have issues to jump into other programming languages, I would say.
So the next question which I had in mind is a good one, which is what are some project ideas for full stack development that somebody can showcase in a resume? Any thoughts on that? No, that.
That's a tricky question because it can be everything. What I do not recommend is any YouTube tutorial project because recruiters will know that it's from a YouTube tutorial. But yeah, you can do everything. What I would suggest is take something that you are passionate about, that it's something that you can use, for example, or others can use. That makes fun for you to create. This can be a to-do list. Like this is the best example for a project. If you start learning a new framework or a new programming language, you do a to-do list. But you can do a fancy stuff, to-do list with fancy stuff and make it look great with the great UI UX design principles. You can do a social media app. This is, I would say, the masterpiece. Now that you have like do full stack, front end, back end, APIs. So if you do a social media app, this is very tricky. It's a big project. But I would say it's a very big plus on your resume if you have something like that. Yeah, there are many things you can do.
I think, as Danny rightly said, that pick an idea which you are motivated about. So
Yeah.
I remember somebody he was like very interested in playing football, and he just built an app where you could book slot. Like finding people to play football with was a challenge, right? So that's where he kind of built a small side project and essentially
Yeah.
it's still live, I think. Yep. So I'm also looking at the chat as well, but so I'll keep highlighting the questions which I feel are more important, so keep them coming along. And the next one, which is I think we have covered this a bit. Oops. Which I forgot. So the question was that if I'm starting out learning, should I focus on Next.js first or should I learn JavaScript? I think that's the debate between learning a language versus learning a framework. Maybe you can quickly answer that.
Always JavaScript first. Learn fundamentals, because once you learn the fundamentals, you can apply it to every framework. And believe me, you will not stick to one framework. At one point, you have or want to do another framework, and if you know the fundamentals of JavaScript, this is easy for you. So always learn the fundamentals first. Yeah.
I think there's one more question which is coming up. I'm seeing this question coming up again, so I highlighted this, which is what do you think is the role of data structures and algorithms in having like a full stack development career?
So great question. It's funny because right now I'm doing like lead code. I'm doing a bit of DSA and algorithm, just for fun and for learning purposes. So the question was, are there companies that doesn't require it? Yes, definitely. So data structure and algorithm are very important if you want to work at FANG, like Amazon, Netflix, like the big companies. I think their interviews are a bit over the top. But yeah, if you want to work there, you have to go through this. Like you have like to take 1 or 2 months or longer and just study data structure algorithm like a monkey. But there are definitely companies that doesn't require it, or maybe just a bit the basics. Many companies doesn't want to reverse a linked list or something like that. But what I think is that data storage and algorithm are very important because they are fundamentals of computer science and coding. And it's always good to know them. It's always it's a good thing to learn them. And it's actually it's fun because you write a piece of code for you write an algorithm, and maybe it works, but it's too slow or it takes too much memory, and it's just fun to optimize it, like to find a better solution. At least I find, for me, it's fun. So for most interviews, I would say you don't need them, at least at a high level. But I would say they are the fundamentals, and it's always good to learn them.
Yeah, I think I'll also, agree with that. That maybe if you just want to get a job, that's okay. But as a programmer, I think if you want to get better, if you want to, have more impact, I think that's where somewhere down the line you'll feel that need yourself, and that's when I think investing some time in DSA,
Yeah,
like basic problem solving skills. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they are your tools. You use them every day, so it's great to learn them.
So I think Pranshu is has a really good question. Is it wired to jump to JavaScript after working with type-safe languages all your life? Yeah, that's like a great question, Pranshu. Thanks for bringing it up. Should someone
I think
learn, TypeScript? Like, did we do a mistake here? We should have done 30 days of TypeScript, not 30 days of JavaScript.
no, but yeah, it's a big fat yes. So it's totally weird if you are like working all the time with a static type language, type safe language, and then jump into JavaScript, for example. It doesn't make you a bad programmer or something like that. I think this is really preference. Like, many people don't like static type languages. I really like them because I think they help us developers to write better code and to catch errors at compile time, not at runtime. If you learn JavaScript, yeah, like I said, learn the fundamentals and then jump into TypeScript if you love static type languages, because TypeScript is literally just JavaScript. So basically, you don't lose anything if you just start with TypeScript, because you can write valid JavaScript in TypeScript. It's the same. You just can add something in TypeScript, like a type, for example. So yeah. So if you love static type languages, learn TypeScript as fast as possible.
So I think we are ending on time, and I want to be really mindful of your time as well, Danny. So I was hoping you could touch a little bit about Learn Web3 DAO, because that's an interesting project which you're part of, and I would love if you can spend a few minutes talking about it, like what's happening there, like, you know, things around it.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to talk about it? Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
why.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I will drop the link to the website. So Learn Web3 DAO is a website where you can learn Web3. And that's from the very beginning, from what is a blockchain to very, very advanced topics. They have different tracks, like the freshman track where you start, and all up to senior, and then specialization tracks. So you can really learn a lot of things. The resources are it's very well written. And the best part of that is you can join the Discord, and this is by far the best community I've joined so far. Like very humble guys, very young, talented programmers, and people that are passionate about Web3 like I am. You can talk about also Web2 things, Web3 things, about private stuff if you want. They are very cool people. We have events, and yeah, it's a very cool community. And if you want to learn Web3, I think this is my number one recommendation. Join the Discord and yeah, enjoy the ride. It's just very cool.
Yep. No, I think I've heard great things about it. I was checking out the server as well, and definitely, please do check it out if you're curious about Web3. I know right now it's not the best time to be talking about Web3, but this is when like if you can take the time to invest in your skills, I think 3-4 years down the line, I'm going to tell you, it's going to pay off like anything. Now's like the winter time for Web3. But communities, that's where these Discord servers are so cool. You can you can find like-minded people who are learning and sharing their knowledge. Amazing. So I had a great time. I think I am excited. I'm like happy and because we covered a lot of things, and I'm sure that everyone here found it to be very, very insightful. And Dany, what were your how was your experience in today's month?
So I had a very great time. It was very fun for me. I love to talk about all this nerd stuff, and I love to like help people. So if I just had one person, yeah, I'm happy. But I'm happy. I'm just happy. Really, thanks for having me. It was great to be here, and yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah. So please, I think Himani, if you can drop Dany's Twitter handle as well. I'm sure people would want to check out what he's up to. Are you active there, Dany? That much? Yeah. On Twitter.
Pardon? What?
Are you active on Twitter that much?
Oh yes. So like I started at the beginning of this year, and I post every day on Twitter. Yeah. So about Web3, about development in general, everything. Yeah.
So the last bit, I just want to plug. I think we already spoke about it. So we are doing a 30-day JavaScript challenge in our Discord server, and essentially, there's the idea is to do these live streams every 30 days, and also have the Discord server where we can discuss exercises, solutions, doubts, anything related to JavaScript. So we'll begin with JavaScript. Maybe next time we'll do TypeScript. But yeah, this is cool little initiative which we are up to, and this is starting next Monday. Yeah. So amazing. I think this is it for today's fireside chat, and we'll see you again. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye bye.
All right.
Have a great time, Dany.
Have a great day,
Rest of
everyone.
the day for you, Dany. Yep.